Podcast 290. The Linguistic and Conceptual Dimensions of Arch and Arc. A multidisciplinary exploration. Copyright 2026. ISBN 9798 90504 7916. Welcome to today's podcast 290. I am your host, Dr. William Anderson Giddens, DD, broadcasting from the beautiful island of Barbados. Today, we are examining arches and arcs through the lens of rich meaning stores found in language. These words are homophones on the surface. They sound the same but have various meanings, often different spellings and simple forms like a doorway or a curved line. Given my understanding of listener psychology, this episode's title, Linguistic, Theological and Cultural Perspectives, reflects the necessity of cognitive awareness for a multidisciplinary investigation. Language is a storehouse of cultural and spiritual values, not just a means of communication. Gurumanda ND. In order to show how these terms have influenced both religious thought and cultural expression, we will examine the etymology, scriptural usage, and symbolic significance of arch and arc in this episode. Encyclopedia Britannica ND Gurumanda ND. Let's dive deep into what these words mean across Aramaic, Greek, Hebrew, and English. My work highlights how these seemingly straightforward terms are, in fact, rich repositories of meaning. They transcend mere geometry, symbolizing covenant, authority, and spiritual continuity across millennia and cultures. This discourse is not just about a curve. Segment 1. Etymology and linguistic context. In Greek, the word archi denotes beginning or first principle and also implies authority or rule. Liddell and Scott, 1996. In New Testament passages such as Colossians 1:18, Christ is referred to as the beginning of all creation, exemplifying both temporal and hierarchical primacy. Hebrew has no direct equivalent of arche, but words like rosh, meaning head or chief, convey leadership roles and authority. Brown, Driver and Briggs, 1996. Aramaic, closely related to Hebrew, uses keshta to signify chief or principal, often appearing in Targumit translations. McNara, 1992. In English, arch evolved from Old French archi and Latin arcus, originally describing a curved structure, later extending metaphorically to signify chief or principal. Harper, 2023. Here we see a fascinating continuity. The curvature of an arch becomes both a physical form and a symbol of authority. Segment 2. Greek perspectives. In Greek, arche signifies the beginning or first principle and crucially authority or rule. Liddell and Scott, 1940. For example, it appears in passages describing Christ as the beginning of all creation. John 1:1, New International Version. Segment 3. Hebrew and Aramaic perspectives. In Hebrew, Rosh refers to head or chief, while in Aramaic, Keshta denotes principle of Kuria, and Bob Gardner, 2001. The English word arch eventually absorbed this sense of chief or principle through its Latin roots, which initially described only a curved structure. Harper, 2023. This demonstrates a continuity where the physical form becomes a symbol of power. For example, the rainbow serves as an arc symbolizing a covenant, or the Ark of the Covenant, which carries an arch-like protective presence. Because of their similar songs and related roots, arch and ark are sometimes confused in English despite having different meanings. Grammar Paths ND. Segment 4. Linguistic and Theological Synthesis. These connections appear intentional across languages. The Hebrew kishnet, literally mean bow, is linked to God's covenant through the rainbow after the flood, symbolizing divine promise and protection. Genesis 9:13-17 NIV. Similarly, the Greek arche reinforces Christ's spiritual primacy as the origin of order. John 1:1. The English arch continues this dual function, bridging tangible structures and metaphorical authority, signaling hierarchy, covenantal continuity. EBSCO ND. An arch is about structure and authority, frequently material. The arch, however, represents a dynamic trajectory. A story arch or an architectural arch differs, yet both belong to this rich linguistic tapestry, the right practice ND. An arch is typically a tangible load-bearing structure. It conveys stability, protection, and overarching authority. Study.com. An arc is conceptual, a segment of a circle, a curved trajectory, or a dynamic flow. Grammarly ND. Together, they demonstrate language's remarkable capacity to communicate both static order and dynamic change, bridging linguistic, cultural, and theological truths. Segment 5. Conclusions. Understanding the difference between arch and arc, stability versus motion, tangible versus conceptual, enhances both academic analysis and practical applications in media, architecture, and religion. Merriam-Webster ND, Stewart, 2015. May your comprehension of these seemingly straightforward terms enhance your appreciation of Scripture, language, and the complex ways meaning develops across disciplines, eras, and cultures. God bless.